Alright guys, our next topic deals with equations of a circle, but before we get there, we have to go back and remember how to complete the square back from algebra. So this first part, x plus 3 squared, what does that mean? That's like saying x plus 3 times x plus 3. So when I FOIL this out, I'm going to get x squared plus 3x plus 3x plus 9, which gives me x squared plus 6x plus 9. This trinomial is because of my two binomials when I multiply them together. That's what I get. All right, so let's say we want to work backwards. And I get x squared plus 2x plus 1. I want to figure out what are my factors of this guy. Some of you guys can probably do this in your head. Let's say that we can't do that. We're going to take the square root of the first guy, which is x, and the square root of my last guy, which is 1. And I'm going to multiply 1 times x to give me 1x, and I'm going to check, is that half of my middle term? You can disregard this guy. Is 1x half of 2x? The answer is yes. So I'm going to have x, 1, and this sign, x plus 1 squared. As my binomials, that when I multiply it, I would get x squared plus 2x plus 1. Let's try another one. I'm going to take the square root of the first guy, which is x, the square root of the last guy, which is 4, and I'm going to multiply x times 4, which is 4x. And is that half of my middle term? Yes, so I'm going to use x, 4, and that sign. So I get x plus 4 squared. So what do all of these have in common? It's the exact same number squared, exact same binomial squared, same binomial squared. And when that happens, that's called a perfect square. I want to try to get my trinomials to be perfect squares. They won't always be given to us like this, but I can make them that way. Now, how do I do that? Because I know I want to get it to be perfect, so that way I can get it to be the same binomial. That's what I'm trying to look for, the same binomial squared. So how do I do that? I have my equation ax squared plus bx plus c. I'm really looking at these two guys here. I'm going to take my c, whatever my c is, I'm going to move him over to the other side. So here's my first problem. X squared plus 2x minus 15. Now I can look at this and notice negative 15 is, I can't take the square root of that. So in order to factor this, I'm going to have to complete the square. I'm going to take my negative 15 and move him over to the other side. So I'm going to get x squared plus 2x is equal to 15, right? If I add 15 here and add 15 here. But I have to complete the square, so I'm going to have to add something on this side. I don't know what it is, but whatever I add to the left side, I'm going to have to add that exact same thing to the right side. I have to figure out what that's supposed to be, though. So how do I know what goes in here? I'm going to take my b term, whatever my b term is, and I'm going to divide it by 2 and square it. That's what's going to go into my boxes. Okay, so here's my b term for this problem. I'm going to take this guy, so it's going to be 2, that's the b, and I'm going to divide him by 2, and I'm going to square it. 2 divided by 2 is 1 squared, which is going to give me 1. 1 is going to go here and here. Has to be the same value, and I'm adding it on both sides, a 1 and a 1. So now on the left side, what is this factor to be? X squared plus 2x plus 1. What are my binomials that give me this trinomial? It's going to be x plus, and whatever your b over 2 is. In this case, 2 divided by 2 is 1. So it's going to be x plus 1 squared. And that's going to equal, on the right side, 15 plus 1 is 16. From here, I'm going to take the square, to get rid of a square, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So my square and square root cancel. I'm left with x plus 1. And that's equal to the square root of 16 is plus or minus 4. I'm going to have 2 of them, which means I'm going to have 2 different equations. I'm going to have x plus 1 equals 4 and x plus 1 equals negative 4. Subtracting 1 from both sides, I get x is equal to 3. Subtracting 1 from both sides, I get x is equal to negative 5. So my answers are 3 and negative 5. I already have my c on the right side, which is what I want. I'm good there. So I'm just looking at this side. I'm going to have x squared minus 8x plus something is equal to 20 plus that same something. Okay, so let's figure out what that something is. I'm going to take my b term and divide him by 2. So my b term here is negative 8. I'm going to get negative 8 divided by 2, and I'm going to square that. Negative 8 divided by 2 is going to give me negative 4, and negative 4 squared is 16. So 16 is going to go here and here. On the left side, what is my factor? What is this factor to be here? So I'm going to get x, and then it's your b over 2. Negative 8 divided by 2, that's going to give you negative 4. So it's x minus 4. That's what goes into your binomial here. Whatever your b divided by 2 is, negative 4, and that's squared. That's equal to, on the right side, 20 plus 16 is 36. Getting rid of my square, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Square and square root cancel, so I'm going to get x minus 4 is equal to positive or negative 36. Two different equations. I'm going to get x minus 4 equals 6. Oh, I'm sorry, not 36. My bad. It should just be 6. Plus or minus 6. So x minus 4 equals 6, and x minus 4 is equal to negative 6. Adding 4 to both sides, I get x is equal to 10. Adding 4 to both sides, I get x is equal to negative 2. X squared minus 12x plus 21. Well, I need to just get it where I have a and b on this side. I need to move my c over to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 21 here and subtract 21 here. I get x squared minus 12x plus something is equal to negative 11 plus something. What's that something? Again, I'm going to take my b over 2 and I'm going to square him. So my b here is negative 12 over 2 squared. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6 squared, which is 36. So 36 goes here and there. 36 and 36. I'm going to get my binomials. It's going to be x, and then what is it? Remember, it's your b over 2, which is here, negative 6. So x minus 6 squared, and that's going to be equal to negative 11 plus 36 is 25. Getting rid of your square, so square root both sides. I get x minus 6 is equal to plus or minus 5. So two different equations, x minus 6 equals 5, and x minus 6 equals negative 5. Adding 6 to both sides, I get x is equal to 11. Adding 6 to both sides, I get x is equal to 1. Again, I need to move my c over to the other side here. So I'm going to get x squared minus 2x plus something, and then I added 1. So I'm going to get 3 plus something. Taking my b, which is negative 2 over 2 squared, which is going to give me negative 1 squared, which is 1. So 1 goes into both of these. And then this factors out to be whatever your b over 2 is. So I'm going to get x minus 1 squared is equal to 3 plus 1, which is 4. Square root both sides. Square and square root cancel. I get x minus 1 is equal to plus or minus 2. X minus 1 equals 2, x minus 1 equals negative 2. Adding 1 to both sides, x is equal to 3. Adding 1 to both sides, x is equal to negative 1. And the last one, if you want to pause and see if you can do this one on your own, go ahead. I'm going to take my c, move him over. I'm going to get x squared plus 6x plus something, adding 4 to both sides, is equal to negative 5 plus something. Taking my b, so 6 over 2 squared is going to give me 3 squared, which is 9. So 9 goes here and 9 goes here. X squared plus 6x plus 9, what is this factor to be? It's going to be this guy. I'm going to get x plus 3 squared is equal to negative 5 plus 9 is 4. Square root both sides, square root cancel. I get x plus 3 is equal to positive or negative 2. So from here, I'm going to get x plus 3 equals 2, and x plus 3 equals negative 2. Subtracting 3 from both sides, x is equal to negative 1, minus 3 from both sides, x is equal to negative 5. All right, there are problems that have where your middle term, your b, is going to be an odd number, but we're not going to work with those right now. That should be good for your guys' homework tonight. If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. Good luck, guys. Thanks.